Welcome to Reddit Echoes, where the wildest stories on Reddit are told by the very people who lived them, where a friendly neighborhood welcome can end in a $158,000 lawsuit. In today's video, you're about to hear a story that's equal parts satisfying, infuriating, and laced with the sweet flavor of legal revenge. Ever had a nightmare neighbor? You know, the kind who peeks through the curtains, tracks every leaf that hits your yard, and thinks your property line is theirs to manage. Now imagine this. You've just moved into a quiet, peaceful neighborhood. A neighbor politely asks you to trim a few trees for her. You say no respectfully. You leave for a weekend getaway and come back to find your trees chopped, your shrubs uprooted, and an email saying you're welcome, but wait, it doesn't stop there. Because when the arborist comes to assess the damage, the number they give you is so high, your neighbor ends up having to sell her house just to cover the cost of her kindness. This isn't just a lesson in property rights, it's a cautionary tale about how curiosity and entitlement can come with a six-figure price tag. So buckle up. This is one neighborly feud you'll never forget. Story 1. My wife came home with a hickey and said it was a bug bite. I'm just an average husband, 27 years old, office job, devoted to my family, always trying to be the kind of man my wife and daughter could be proud of. And I really thought I was doing okay. That is until my wife came back from a work trip to Las Vegas with a red-purple mark on her neck and told me it's just a bug bite. Sounds simple, right? But the truth started long before that, with small red flags, broken promises, and that tight feeling in my throat I ignored one too many times. The set-up marriage family, and a plan that fell apart. My wife and I met in college. We'd been together since we were 19. Married by 21, me, and 22, her. We weren't perfect, but we loved each other. We made it through cultural clashes. I'm Asian American, she's Latina, and both families weren't exactly thrilled about our union at first. But we built a life. We now have a 4-year-old daughter, smart, sensitive, the kind of kid who insists on hugging her mom to sleep every night. Every year, my wife's company hosts a retreat. This time it was in Vegas. In previous years, I'd always managed to go with her. Not to monitor her, but to refresh the marriage. We'd make it a couple's trip, stay a few extra days, leave our daughter with the grandparents, and just be us again, dinners, late-night walks, neon lights. But this year was different. Our daughter developed flight anxiety, and any time away from home was a struggle. So I stayed back being the rock while my wife flew off on her own. And I wasn't worried. I trusted her completely. Until she started becoming someone I didn't recognize. It started with unread messages. The first day she FaceTimed me, gave me a little hotel room tour, chatted about her dinner with co-workers. But by day 2, my texts started getting left on read. I asked how she was, no reply. I sent a photo our daughter drew of her, she saw it, and said nothing. And then came our daughter's birthday. We'd planned a FaceTime call so she could blow out the candles with mommy virtually. My daughter wore her favorite dress, made a little heart-shaped card. She was glowing. But when the time came, my wife texted, "Some people came to my room after the conference. I can't step away right now, networking. I said I'm not stopping you. But you need to explain that to your daughter." She called not to celebrate, but to say, "Mommy will call you another day, okay?" Then she hung up, leaving me to calm a crying child who just wanted to see her mom. And then came the photos. She posted stories on Instagram, and in nearly all of them there was him, a young co-worker. 23, baby face, smirky smile, way too touchy for just friends. In one photo, his arm was around her hand, grazing dangerously close to her chest. In one video, they were giggling and she called him my baby rookie. A friend tagged me with haha jealous, yet I'd seen this guy before. He once messaged her, "You're the kind of woman who could totally dominate me." She brushed it off, said I was overreacting. He's lonely. No one talks to him. And like a fool, I believed her. Until the mark showed up. It's just a bug bite. The night before she came back, she casually mentioned over the phone that she got bit by something and it stings a little. Then she walked into our home. And there it was. That unmistakable purple-red mark. A hickey. I said nothing in front of our daughter, but once we were alone, I asked, "That isn't a bug bite?" She gave a tight-lipped smile. "Are you accusing me of lying?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "I'm not accusing. I know you're lying." She blew up, called me paranoid, said I don't trust her, and that I was just lashing out because of the missed birthday call. But I wasn't stupid, and I wasn't staying quiet anymore. A week of silent war, and the truth finally broke. I moved to the guest room. She wore turtlenecks every day. We didn't speak. No hugs, no apologies. Just strangers in the same house. Then one night she came into my room, her eyes red. She whispered, "I can't take this anymore. I feel like I'm losing you. I'm sorry." I asked sorry for what? The hickey missing our daughter's birthday. Cheating. She went quiet for a long time, then nodded. The confession and the birthday that shattered me. Yes, me and that guy, we got close. We didn't have sex, but we kissed, touched. He did things to me with his mouth. I didn't plan for it to happen. I just wanted to feel desired, noticed. I don't recognize myself anymore. I'm becoming my father, someone who puts work before family. I became what my mom once cried over. I replied coldly, "No, your father didn't make you cheat. You chose him. You chose to do that on our daughter's birthday." She broke down sobbing. "I'll do anything to fix this. I'll quit. Go to HR. We can do therapy. I'll do whatever it takes." But all I could see was a stranger separation and a family forever changed. I told her I couldn't live with someone I no longer trusted. She begged me not to divorce, not to break the home. I said, "We need space. Let's separate. You can stay with your parents. I'll stay here with our daughter." She agreed, packed in silence. Our daughter asked, "Is Mommy going on another trip?" I didn't know how to answer. A call from my mother-in-law. She called me the next day. I won't excuse what she did, but you're the only man she's ever described as her safe harbor. I couldn't respond, because I still love my wife. I really do. But trust, once it's gone, it's almost impossible to bring back. The end. I don't know where we're going from here. I'm not ready for divorce, but I'm not ready to forgive either. All I know is this: I tried. I gave everything to my family. But on the day my daughter needed her mom the most, her mother chose a stranger over her own child. And I don't know if I can ever move past that. Story 2. My neighbor cut down my trees to help and lost $158,000 for her kindness. When you move into a new neighborhood, you usually hope for a few friendly neighbors, maybe someone to wave at, borrow a gardening tool from, or at least not mess with your property. But of course I wasn't that lucky. My girlfriend and I had just moved into a small home in Washington, our first real place together. It was a cozy little spot with a shady backyard, a stone walkway, and a line of shrubs that marked our property line. I had dreams for that yard. This summer, we'd hang a swing from the tree host barbecues and finally feel that grown-up stability people talk about. What I didn't expect was to end up in court over 3 trees and 4 shrubs. Move-in week, and a ridiculous request from the neighbor. During our first week in the house, a neighbor, let's call her Mrs. G, knocked on our door. She smiled a little too politely and said, "Welcome to the neighborhood. Oh, by the way, the previous tenant promised to trim those trees blocking my window. You planning to take care of that?" I blinked. These were 3 big, beautiful black walnut trees, standing tall right on the edge of my yard near her property, but not crossing the line, not leaning into her space. Sure, they blocked her view into my yard, but honestly, that sounded like a feature, not a bug. I told her I'd check with the previous owner. He confirmed, nope, no such promise. In fact, he said he planted those honey locust shrubs along the fence specifically to block out Mrs. G's nosiness. So I sent her a polite text. Sorry, but we're keeping the trees and shrubs. We really value our privacy. I figured that was the end of it. We went on a weekend trip and came home to a nightmare. After a short weekend getaway, we returned, and I nearly passed out. The black walnut trees had been hacked bare on one side, the side facing her windows. One honey locust shrub was completely gone. Two others were yanked out of the ground, dirt everywhere like a backyard crime scene. I was frozen. My first thought, tree theft, is that even a thing I sent her a very calm, very professional email asking if she'd noticed anything unusual while we were gone. And then, she replied. The most insane email I've ever received. Here it is word for word, no edits. We decided not to let you deal with the mess the previous owner left, so we hired someone over the weekend to take care of it. No need to thank us. Merry Christmas, I wanted to scream. I also wanted to sue, but I had no cameras, no video, just a very cheerful email. So I asked Reddit, can I actually sue her for cutting down my trees? First arborist dude. You're sitting on a gold mine. I brought in 3 arborists, tree experts. One of them was a close friend. Here's what they said. The black walnut trees, extremely valuable hardwood. One was ruined completely. The other 2 lost serious value. The honey locust shrubs were 15+ years old, properly planted, and worth compensation. Estimated damages? 2 damaged shrubs, $1 $600 plus $1 $800, 1 missing shrub, $2,300, 1 ruined tree, $17,000, 2 partially damaged trees, $4,000 plus $2,500, total $29, $200. I was ready to file the lawsuit, but then things escalated. Arborist number 4, and the total jumps to $158,000. Just to be sure, I hired a well-known arborist. He inspected everything, then asked, do you see those white spots near the cuts? He confirmed it. The botched trimming introduced canker rot, a fast-spreading fungus. Not only were the cut trees infected, but 3 other healthy trees nearby were contaminated too. Conclusion. All 3 black walnuts need to be cut down. 3 more trees also infected. Cleanup and total loss $158,000. I was speechless. And then, criminal charges. I filed the lawsuit with the email and arborist reports as evidence. My lawyer smiled and said, she just confessed in writing. We've already won. But then police got involved. They charged her with trespassing and destruction of protected trees. The ending was more satisfying than I ever expected. I hadn't planned to go this far. I wasn't trying to ruin someone's life. I just wanted justice. But then I spoke to my other neighbors, and every single one of them said the same thing. They're the nightmare of this neighborhood. Sue hard. Turns out, they once called the cops on kids running a lemonade stand for not having a business license. Reported a Filipino family to ICE for looking suspicious. Complained about garden lights being on after 9 p.m. Demanded a senior neighbor take down her wind chimes because they were too noisy. The final result. They had to sell the house, and the neighborhood celebrated. I got my compensation. They put up a for sale sign. No one shed a tear. One elderly neighbor even gave me a bottle of wine and said, "Kid, you just did what we've all been waiting 30 years for." The end. I don't call myself a vengeful person. But when you move into a new home, and your neighbor hires someone to chop your trees down without asking, then sends you an email saying you're welcome, well, I think you'd understand why I was thrilled when they had to move. And if you're wondering whether I felt bad that they had to sell their house, let me just say Merry Christmas to you too. It's all over. Just because they couldn't stop meddling, a pair of nosy neighbors lost $158,000 and their reputation in a neighborhood where they were once infamous for being the most unpleasant. What do you think of this story? Do they deserve to sell their house? Or do you think the storyteller was a bit too harsh? Or have you ever dealt with neighbors like that? Leave a comment below. Because as you know on Reddit and in real life, drama always has two sides. And sometimes justice comes with a very long bill. Don't forget, like the video if you feel as satisfied as I do. Subscribe so you don't miss the next true Reddit stories, and share this story if you think someone needs a wake-up call about picking the wrong tree to chop down. This is Reddit Echoes, where we tell you stories that seem unbelievable but happen every day in the real world.